Well, the Graham Mertz era is over, right? This is Locked On Badgers. I'm Ryan Herring. So we're going to talk about Graham Mertz entering the portal, reflect on his career a little bit, and talk a little bit about what that means for the quarterback room coming into next year. What does Luke Fickell need to do? We got a lot to talk about on today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, one of your first listens every day. I am your host, Ryan Herrings, and I want to, as always, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, for being a member of this community. I say it all the time. I really appreciate y'all. Mertz is gone, right? Graham Mertz is in the portal in a move that I think surprises very few people. We've talked about it on this show as this is the most likely scenario. You know, Rajiv has said it wouldn't shock him if Mertz came back, but even that he caveated with he's probably gone. So this move really surprises nobody, but it signifies the end of an era, and it's another stanchion to that Paul Chryst era that's officially cut, right? It's another tether to that Paul Chryst era that, you know, has been removed from the dock. That rope has been removed, and that ship can sail off into the good night and is a clean break. Listen, I want to start here. Before I get too far into my naval analogies, I want to start here. Like, I respect the heck out of Graham Mertz. Okay. I see a lot of, I don't want to say negative dancing on the grave of Graham Mertz on Twitter, which from a play standpoint, I get it all. Like, if you're the quarterback, you are the masthead of an organization. You are the icon of that franchise. And if you don't play well and the team doesn't play well and the offense struggles, you're going to get a lot of deserved criticism. It's not even undeserved criticism. Like, Mertz hasn't played well enough as a quarterback in Madison to elevate this offense. So all the criticism of some of his play is warranted. The criticism that goes past that, I don't think is warranted. I'm not going to go there. I'm never going to tell somebody how they need to act, but I wouldn't ever go to that level. Like, here's the thing. I respect Mertz a lot as a person who always seemed accountable, right? You saw it this year when even other team leaders and captains weren't talking to the media. Mertz is accountable. He has always been accountable. And people in the media talk about it. When he messes up, he comes out and he faces the firing squad. And that's all you can ask of somebody. Do you own up to it? I think you check that box. Yes, Graham Mertz. You know what else he did? He got banged around this year. He got beat the crap out of. And for the most part, he kept coming back for more, kept trying. And again, I think there's something to be said there. I think he cared about it. I think he wanted to win. I think he tried. I think he put in the time. And again, he was accountable for the output, which that's all you can ask of anybody. It didn't work out for Graham Mertz. By the way, it's not just like Wisconsin fans are disappointed. This didn't work out like Graham Mertz thought it would work out either. Do you think when he signed up to come to Wisconsin that he was signing up for a different offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach every year? Do you think he signed up to have a year without a designated quarterbacks coach? Do you think he signed up for an offense that was stagnant, play calling from the 1960s, an offensive line tackles last year at the beginning of last year that couldn't block pass rushers? You know, do you think he signed up for receivers that struggled getting separation? So play calling sequences that were run, pass far too often. You know, these sound like I can already see someone's going to say, stop making excuses for him. These aren't excuses. These are reasons, right? Excuse me. I mean, it sounds like excuses, but there's legitimate reasons why it didn't work out for Graham Mertz, Paul Chryst, and the Wisconsin offense. And some of those reasons are on Graham Mertz decision-making, Graham Mertz inaccuracy. Some of those decisions are on the fact that Wisconsin failed Graham Mertz in giving him a player development cycle that makes any sense. They failed Graham Mertz in giving him consistent coaching. They failed Graham Mertz in giving him play calling that was innovative and efficient and unpredictable. So to me, it was a bad relationship towards the end of this. Both sides need a clean break. I'm going to be rooting like heck for Graham Mertz. Let me tell you all this. Wherever he goes, I hope he crushes it. I hope Wisconsin does great in whatever they do next at the quarterback position. And I hope GM5, I hope Mertz goes somewhere and absolutely kills it. I will be rooting like heck for him because, A, it doesn't hurt Wisconsin if he does, right? Nobody here is going to, if he goes out and does great somewhere, nobody here is going to be like, oh, he would have done that here. We wish we would have had him back. I think it's just a clean break, right? he needs a break from Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin needs a break from him. And I think Wisconsin needs to continue, as I said, casting off those lines of the Paul Chryst era. Let the good ship SS Paul Chryst's offense sail off into the ocean somewhere else, and just let Fickell kind of clean up that side of the ball. And I think it's tough to do if Mertz comes back. So I don't think this is unexpected, but it's a big domino that falls, right? It's a big domino that falls. And again, like, here's the thing. The other thing I'll point out on Mertz, he wasn't bad this year. Now, he wasn't good either, but he was 5th in the conference in passing efficiency, 7th in touchdowns, albeit he was 14th in interceptions. But he legitimately got better this year. That's what we asked. At the beginning of the year, we said, can Graham Mertz take a step and be an average Big Ten quarterback, somewhere middle of the pack? For a lot of this year, he was. A lot of this year, he was a decent middle of the pack Big Ten quarterback, and that's what we asked at the beginning of the year. If you remember at the beginning of the year, we talked about expectations, and nobody expected Graham Mertz to be 25 touchdowns and 8 picks. We said, can he be 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio? Can he cut down on the mistakes? Can he make a few more big plays? And honestly, categorically, he answered yes to all those questions, right? I mean, he had 11 interceptions and 10 touchdowns last year. He kind of flipped those numbers this year, and he still made too many mistakes, and he still doesn't make enough plays with his legs, and he still had some really inaccurate games, and he still failed in big moments in the Iowa game, for example. But he was better. He wasn't the root of all the problems of the offense. So yeah, wherever he goes, I'm going to root for him. But I am glad that there's a break here. I think he needs it. I think Wisconsin needs it. But it does kind of create one of the first big dominoes after the coaching movement of this offseason to transpire. So it's interesting to see. And then let's talk about, what does that do for the quarterback room next year, right? Mostly in terms of what Luke Fickell, how does it maybe change how he attacks this offseason? So now we had talked previously, you have Cole LaCrue coming in, right? You have Myles Burkett on the roster. Deacon Hill already transferred, remember. Chase Wolf may or may not come back, but either way, I think we know he's not the answer to be the guy. Maybe he's the answer to be some depth, but he's not the guy. So you have Myles Burkett, Cole LaCrue, and ? So I think there was already consideration that you should take a transfer quarterback. Now you will have to take a transfer quarterback this offseason. You have to get a veteran arm in this, and you may get another high school quarterback as well. So this puts a lot of pressure on Luke Fickell and that new look recruiting staff that he's bringing over from Cincinnati, and probably merging to some degree with some of what's at Wisconsin. You absolutely, without a doubt, have to go get a veteran quarterback this offseason. It has to be priority number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you don't do that, it's going to be a failure. And that's no disrespect to Myles Burkett, who I like a lot. That's no disrespect to Cole LaCrue, who y'all know I like a lot. But you have to have a veteran arm in there. You cannot go into next season putting it all either on LaCrue or Burkett. So that's really, and I think maybe that was already the plan. But with Mertz officially leaving, that definitely puts Fickell on the hot seat in terms of, you have to get a quarterback. Because remember, next year's schedule is super manageable. Now, I don't know what the expectations are going to be. We really have to see how the roster fleshes out for Wisconsin and for the rest of the Big Ten West, by the way. But the schedule is very manageable, and Wisconsin doesn't have zero talent here. Wisconsin still has a somewhat talented team. They could navigate next year's schedule and win the West. That's definitely a doable proposition if you get the quarterback. So, excuse me. So that puts a lot of pressure on Fickell. We're going to talk about that a lot more, see how this thing plays out. But farewell, Graham Mertz. I think, quite frankly, Wisconsin failed you. I think at times, quarterbacks always get too much blame and too much credit, right? When things go bad or things go right. In Mertz's case, I think he definitely got too much blame for what was, quite frankly, a broken offensive ecosystem that, barring a generational quarterback, nobody was fixing that. An average to above average quarterback wasn't fixing that offense, and that's what Graham Mertz was, right? A generational quarterback, sure, but a generational quarterback can fix anything basically in football. So, Graham Mertz wasn't that. That's a fair statement to make, but he also was drugged down by what was around him and by the offensive scheme he was in. So I think that's also fair. And he's going to leave Wisconsin. Listen, he put up some numbers. He's leaving Wisconsin with 5,400 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, 26 picks. Yeah, farewell, Graham Mertz. I will be rooting for you, and I'm super excited to see what Wisconsin does next at quarterback. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the bowl game. Wisconsin's in a bowl game. Specifically, we're going to talk about do we need to see some of the younger players? We're going to have a new quarterback starting, Myles Burkett time. I'm excited for this. We're going to talk about the bowl game itself and what we want to see out of that. But first, a word from our sponsors, our good friends of the show over at Omaha Steaks. And listen, Omaha Steaks is the America's original butcher, right? Since 1917, a holiday gift that's guaranteed to be loved. You know it's holiday season. The holidays are here. And if you want to achieve gifting greatness, if you really want to make your mark, you give the gift of perfectly aged and delicious Omaha Steaks. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together specially curated gift packages to help take the guesswork out of gifting and make you a holiday hero. Go to omahasteaks.com, use the code LOCKEDON at checkout and get $30 off your order. You're gonna crush the holidays with this. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing that you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com, promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. There is a minimum order that is going to be required for this. Omaha Steaks has everything you need to give a gift that's simply perfect. Gifts like perfectly aged tender steaks, juicy burgers, decadent desserts, classic comfort meals. A gourmet gift from Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart and a gift they'll remember with every unforgettable bite. Plus, with this special offer, again, you get $30 off your order. Minimum order required. Shop early and beat the shopping rush. When you're shopping for friends, family, colleagues, or yourself, every order is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Omaha Steaks, you're not going to miss it. Go definitely take advantage of that. I want to thank everyone again for tuning in to Locked On Badgers, making this one of your first listens every single day. Truly do appreciate y'all, and we're going to keep this going. So Wisconsin's going to a bowl game for the 21st year in a row, which, listen, I've talked to y'all. The bowl streak matters to me, okay? If you look at the teams with the longest bowl streaks, it's Georgia with 26. That doesn't look like it's slowing down. Oklahoma at 24 and Wisconsin. Like that's a rarefied air, y'all, and it's something I'm proud of. It shows the consistency of the Wisconsin brand. I think it's really cool. And quite frankly, bowls weren't always so easy to get into. Now it's a lot easier, but a lot of this bowl streak was built on an era when bowls weren't quite as easy to get into. It gives you extra practices as well. I'm very excited about it, even though I know it's a mediocre bowl game. I know a lot of people aren't going to care. I know the national needle doesn't get moved at all by this. I like having a crazy long bowl streak that I can point to. Like it low-key broke my heart when Wisconsin basketball missed out in that one tournament, right? And they broke that crazy long streak. I like that the football team kept this going. I think it's cool. I think it matters. I enjoy it as a fan, if nothing else. Luke Fickell had a really nice quote about this. I'm really excited for the opportunity for our players. Love that he's all in. Like opportunity for our players. Oklahoma State is a great program. I have a tremendous respect for Coach Gundy and his staff. Bowl games are great rewards for players and staff. I can't wait to start our preparation. So a couple key things here. And maybe I didn't mention, they're playing Oklahoma State. It is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, December 27th. It's a night game. I love night games, by the way, in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm curious. Let me know in the comments who's going down there. Arizona's my old stomping grounds. I could give you all sorts of tips if you're not familiar with the area. Arizona's incredible. I love it. So bowl game, again, why does this matter? Well, let's start with Luke Fickell, right? You heard it. This is a great opportunity for our preparation, for our players. This is an incredible opportunity for him to come in and, really ingrain himself in the culture of Wisconsin, really get in front of the players, really start coaching them, really start to build that rapport and get a jump start on it, right? We talk about transitions and we talk about learning curves and we talk about how long is it going to take for someone to rev up? Well, this is a couple weeks worth of practices to get him in front of these players to really see what he has on the roster. That shouldn't be diminished. That shouldn't be overlooked. I think it's a big deal. And we don't know because it hasn't been talked about how the coaching staff is going to work out here. Obviously, he's been hired as the head coach. We still don't have confirmation on Jim Leonhard. That was reported that he's staying. We did a whole show on it. I had also heard he's staying, but that hasn't been confirmed. But Fickell's going to be there in these practices no matter what. And he's going to be seeing the young players on the offensive line, the young players on the defensive line, the young secondary, right? Mike Tressel's going to be there. The guy that Luke is bringing over from Cincinnati. He's going to see all the young players on defense. This is a great opportunity for this new staff to get with these players, to work with them, to build trust, to start understanding what they have on the roster so they know what they need to attack in the transfer portal. I won't overlook how big these 2 weeks are, these 2 weeks worth of practices, really just for the young players to develop, but also for this coaching staff to gain the awareness and really see what they have and be able to work with them. Because they can go back and look at all the film from every game at Wisconsin this year, from all the practices, which are also filmed. They can go back and look at all that. But it's different when you can work with them, right? It's different when you can go through drills with them, when you can see what they're like in practice, when you can see them attack these things in person. So I think that's the biggest benefit by far. Outside of my my ego boosting Wisconsin Badgers bowl streak, which I like to brag about, but just Luke getting in there with his staff, seeing these players, working with these players, I think is so incredibly invaluable going into the offseason. Like, it's such an opportunity that would be missed if the Badgers hadn't got bowl eligible. And credit to Jim Leonard for getting them there, right? We had shows earlier in the year where we talked about, are the Badgers going to be able to get bowl eligible? And a lot of us thought they wouldn't. Nah, I did. But he got them there. And that's a huge credit to Jim Leonard. And I think it really sets up this coaching transition in as good of a way as possible, right? There's still going to be learning curves. There's still going to be speed bumps. But this is a big deal. I think it matters. And you're also going to get, outside of Luke Fickell, every rep matters, right? For players that are trying to get better, for young players who don't get a lot of reps during the season, bowl development, bowl practices, this has always been an opportunity, especially at Wisconsin, where young players, they've been able to take some reps. They've been able to really get off that scout team and really develop into what the scheme is going to be at Wisconsin. So, this is also a great opportunity for young offensive linemen who haven't played a lot. Trey Wettig, great opportunity for, well, he's played more, but great opportunity for maybe Benchwall, great opportunity for some of the younger defensive linemen, for inside linebackers, cornerbacks. Like, this is just great reps that the younger players can get. And by the way, speaking of younger players, we just talked about quarterbacks. Myles Burkett, right? He's got to be the starter, right? You got to start him in this bowl game and see what you have, and let him take some lumps in a game that, quite frankly, doesn't have any real consequences. It doesn't really. Everybody wants to win this game, right? And Wisconsin has been great in bowl games recently, but there's no pressure. Like, it doesn't really hurt you. Nobody nationally is going to be looking at this as some type of barometer to measure the program or Luke Fickell by. So this is a great opportunity to put Myles Burkett, the young quarterback, young nurture freshman out there, or the young true freshman, out there, and just see what he has. Let him take some lumps, but let him make some plays in a game that doesn't have a ton of stakes. So I think you're going to see Myles Burkett, not Chase Wolf. I think it makes so much sense to let Burkett play in this game because you have to see what you have going into next year. And it's an opportunity for them to do it in a low-stress environment. So I think you're going to see a lot of young players, maybe some of the younger cornerbacks, get some reps over Jay Shaw, Cedric Dort. We've talked about guys like Samar Melvin, Max Lofi. Maybe you're going to see a little bit more of that. Maybe a guy like TJ Bowlers gets a couple more reps instead of CJ Getz. So you could see some younger players starting to rotate in a little bit more. Maybe Vinny Anthony, the receiver we've seen on and off, get some more reps as well. So I'm excited to see the young players. I'm excited to see Myles Burkett. I'm excited to see Luke Fickell on the sideline. So these are all things I'm excited to see. I think that's why this bowl game matters. It's young players. It's Luke Fickell. And it's an opportunity to kind of springboard into next year with this new coaching staff. So it matters. And I'm excited that the Badgers have a bowl game on the slate and that they were able to get bowl eligible. All right, coming up, we're going to talk recruiting. Y'all know, if you guys know me, I have a couple favorites in this recruiting class. One of them is coming back for an official visit. They have to lock this dude down. I'm so excited that he's coming back. That's going to be a big one. We're going to talk about recruiting, not just him, but another prospect coming onto campus next on Locked On Badgers. But first, today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Simply Safe. Simply Safe remains just the number one home security system. And I've talked about it before. This is what I use to protect my family. We have it on our house. We have it on windows and doors. And it's something I installed. Really simple, no wires, right? You put sensors everywhere. And it's also something that allows us, we have kind of a big yard. We have a couple kids. Sometimes they run out to the backyard. We can hear when they come in and come out, right? It gives us some awareness there. So if they pop out, I can run out there, see what they're doing. It's a really kind of situational awareness tool for our family, which I love. And then when I got to go and work travel, I know it's going to protect my family as well. So that's what Simply Safe has done for us. It's the only security system we've ever used. My wife loves it. I love it. And we have a great opportunity for you to save big if you're a Locked On Badgers follower, which I know all y'all are. Simply Safe is the whole home security, advanced sensors, every room, HD security cameras. And don't miss your chance to save big, right? Save big on the only security system I recommend. 50% off any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/. Locked On College at simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege. There's no safe like Simply Safe. All right, again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Let's talk some recruiting. So a couple big players coming in, and I teased it. You guys know my favorite, Jamel Howard, a big defensive tackle out of Illinois, 320-pounder. He was committed to the Badgers. All right, decommitted with the coaching turnover and the coaching confusion. Went up to an official visit to Michigan. Michigan's after him. Illinois is after him. But he's coming back for an official visit. Now that Luke Fickell is secure, he's been hired. The Badgers are going to get one more shot to kind of re-bring in Jamel Howard. And this is such a big target. For those of you who don't remember, Jamel Howard is just this massive nose tackle who also moved really well for a 320-pounder. Right? We had John Garcia Jr. on. We were dicing up the film. This dude is such an important get for the Badgers. He's not just a leaner. So many 320-pound dudes just kind of lean on offensive guards and centers, and they don't really do much except kind of clog up the middle, which is a valuable skill set, by the way. But this dude is that plus. This dude has a motor. He has kind of a rip move. He's able to be disruptive. He's got some Keanu Benton tendencies where he's big, but he's mobile. He's not as athletic as Benton. He's not going to come in and play right away probably, but there's a reason Michigan has said, hey, Jamel, like, we'd really like you up in Ann Arbor. Like, this dude is good. And not only is he good, but he fits such a huge need. Whether it's Luke Fickell, Mike Tressel, Jim Leonard, they all want to play a 3 defensive lineman front. Whether it's a 3-3-5, a 3-4, they need a big space eater, and there's not a guy on that roster right now at Wisconsin. Because once Benton leaves, who is that dude? You need to have those guys in the pipeline for this defense to work. This is that dude. So Jamel Howard coming back on campus. We're definitely going to follow that one. That's a big one, literally and figuratively. So I hope they lock that down. We're also starting to see some of the first vestiges of the Cincinnati committee, our recruiting class, kind of coming over, or at least taking a look at Wisconsin. Now Luke Fickell's come over. Malik Elzy is a high 3-star receiver that was committed to Cincinnati, 6'3", 198 pounds out of Chicago, Illinois. He has an official visit scheduled for Wisconsin. Lanky, good athlete, out of Chicago, the Chicago area as well. So a place that the Badgers have really gone after. But he maybe comes in and fills the Colin Dixon or the Tretch Kekahun or spot that both those receivers decommitted from Wisconsin. So they definitely have to get some receiver talent into this class. And maybe Malik is that guy coming in on an official visit as well. So we're going to track that. And then what do we need to do in this class? So that's kind of how I want to wrap up here. What are the needs in this class still? So I already talked about quarterback. You got to get a transfer quarterback. Running back is fine. You have 2 commits right now, barring any decommits. And Nate White, the in-state running back, has already said, Luke Fickell visited me. I'm good on Wisconsin. Jaquez Keys, the kid out of Ohio, that could be interesting. I'm not sure there. But if you keep those 2, you're good at receiver or good at running back. You need a couple receivers, right? You lost your 2 receiver commits. You need another offensive lineman. Probably, I would take another interior guy and a tackle, but you need at least one more, right? You have James Durand on the inside, but your offensive tackle decommitted to go to Notre Dame. So you probably need one more offensive lineman. You definitely need a tight end because that group just hasn't been able to stay healthy. Probably 1 or 2 defensive linemen, assuming Jamel Howard can come back. If you get one more, I think you're probably good there. And then 1 to 2 linebackers, 1 to 2 defensive backs. And you need a punter, right? I would go after in the transfer portal for a punter. So just to recap, I think you need in the transfer portal probably a punter, a quarterback. I would definitely look in the portal for maybe another running back, especially because Braylon Allen's been banged up. Ches Malusi's been banged up. Isaac Rendo's gone. You need running back depth going into next year. You need proven running back depth going into next year. So I would hit transfer portal hard if you could find a running back, quarterback, and punter. And then in this high school class, you need a couple receivers still, a couple defensive linemen still, a tight end, and probably a linebacker defensive back. So, we're looking in the next 10 days, in the next 20 days, adding 10 guys to this recruiting class. It's going to be wild. It's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about it here on Locked On Badgers. So appreciate everybody tuning in. That's the show today. Let me know in the comments below if you've been to Arizona before, what you like about it. If not, I can give you all sorts of pointers. I used to spend my summers in Arizona. So I know that's kind of my old stomping ground in a way. And other than that, Graham Mertz left. I would send him well wishes on Twitter, or at least wish him well wishes in your head if you're that type of person, if you think karma's a thing. So he's been a pretty stand-up guy for Wisconsin. He's taken a lot of shots, and Wisconsin didn't always do right by him either. So I'm going to root for him wherever he goes. And with that, we're still kind of waiting on final confirmation with Jim Leonhard. As soon as we get final actual ink dry confirmation, we're going to talk about that more. But until that happens, we're going to kind of hold off talking about that anymore. On Wisconsin, let's keep it going. Appreciate y'all so much. Let's go.